Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, the manhunt continues for the individual who killed 2 students and wounded 9 others on the campus of Brown University. As law enforcement in Rhode Island resumed their search for the 3rd day, police released new video footage of the shooter. Arnie Richards has the latest. President Trump ordering fentanyl to be classified as a weapon of mass destruction. This as he says his lawsuit against the BBC is likely to be filed within the next 24 hours. Mario Tzu at the White House. President Trump says Ukraine is closer to peace than at any time since the war began almost 4 years ago. Arian Pozdar has the plans the U.S. is making about NATO-like security guarantees for Ukraine. Residents in Australia gathered to honor victims of Sunday's shooting that left 15 people dead and over 40 injured. One brave bystander possibly saved lives after he tackled a gunman and took his weapon away. Jason Perry reports. The Justice Department says the FBI has foiled a bomb plot planned for Los Angeles on New Year's Eve. Officials say they arrested 4 members of an extremist group as they unloaded bomb materials in the desert. David Lamb has the details. Tragic news from Hollywood. Legendary filmmaker Reiner and his wife Michelle were found dead inside their home. Their son has been arrested in connection with the deaths. Christina Corona reporting from Los Angeles.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here's Tiffany Meyer.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. The U.S. is planning to extend NATO-like security guarantees to Ukraine. It's the latest major development in a fast-developing peace process between Russia and Ukraine. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pozdar has the latest.
And I think we're closer now than we have been ever.
President Trump saying Ukraine is closer to peace than at any time since the war began almost 4 years ago. And U.S. officials on Monday telling reporters that the U.S. plans to extend Article 5-like security guarantees to Ukraine. NATO's Article 5 says an attack on one is an attack on all. If coming to fruition, such an agreement would be a major security guarantee for Ukraine.
We are currently working to have all this written out, and we are making progress there. I see the details from the military that they have been working on. They look quite good, although this is only a first draft.
U.S. officials also say Russia is open to Ukraine possibly joining the European Union. According to Washington, this would be the biggest expansion of the Euro-free zone since the fall of the Berlin Wall. Zelensky is offering to drop Ukraine's NATO bid in exchange. However, one key part of a possible peace deal is not clear yet: the question of territories.
There has been enough dialogue on territorial issues, and it seems to me that, for now, we have different positions, to be honest.
U.S. officials didn't give a clear answer either when asked about territorial issues on Monday. The U.S. previously recommended creating a free economic zone in Ukraine's Donbas region. Russia calls it a demilitarized zone. But Ukraine has previously said it's against that, partly because it wouldn't be clear who actually controls those areas. Arian Pozdar, NTD News.
People gathered in Australia at the site of a tragic shooting in which 15 people were killed and over 40 injured. The death toll may have been higher, but a man who's being called a hero tackled one of the shooters and took his gun away. NTD's Jason Perry has the update and a warning. This report contains footage that some viewers may find disturbing.
On Monday, residents in Australia paid tribute to the victims who were killed at Bondi Beach. It was Australia's deadliest shooting in almost 30 years. 15 people were killed and over 40 were injured. The alleged shooters, a father and son, appeared to target hundreds of Jews who gathered at the beach to celebrate the first day of Hanukkah. Video from Sunday's shooting showed people running away from the beach as gunshots could be heard in the background. Another video shows people taking cover while one of the shooters can be seen among the trees. A man nearby was heard saying this.
Is that the guy? Is that the shooter?
Yeah. Then a man is seen running out from in between the cars, who then takes the shooter's gun away. The shooter falls to the ground and goes near his son, who is later seen firing his weapon from this bridge. The son later falls down on the ground next to what appears to be his father. Police said the father was killed and his son was shot and is being treated at a hospital. Some residents said this about the man who took the gun away from the shooter.
That guy that could have been so much worse, who got the gun off the guy. Amazing. He's a legend.
Yeah, I just can't believe he had the courage to run straight in and put his body on the line for so many people. Like, he saved so many people. If it wasn't for him, who knows how long it could have kept on going.
Yeah, especially when someone was firing at him from the bridge still, I think. Like, yeah. Just insane.
It's mesmerizing. Yeah.
The man who put his life on the line, 43-year-old Ahmed Al-Ahmed, is now recovering in a hospital. According to his family, Al-Ahmed underwent surgery for bullet wounds to his arm and hand. On Monday, police were seen at the home of the suspected shooters. Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said the country stands against terrorism and anti-Semitism, and he also proposed tougher gun laws. Meanwhile, the chief rabbi in the UK commented on Jews continuing to celebrate Hanukkah after the attack.
The main thing for us to remember is we will never fear. And I think that sums up their strength at this time, coming together in far larger numbers. It reflects our communities here in the UK and elsewhere. We'll be out there, we'll be celebrating Hanukkah with pain in our hearts. Nothing will stop us from celebrating our Judaism.
Jason Perry, NTD News.
As the Australian Jewish Association says their warnings weren't heard, how does the Bondi Beach shooting fit in with a growing picture of anti-Semitic violence? Tonight on Capitol Report, hear from Horace Cooper, Senior Policy Research Fellow at the National Center for Public Policy Research at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Justice Department says the FBI has foiled a bomb plot planned for Los Angeles on New Year's Eve. Officials say they arrested members of an extremist group as they were unloading bomb materials. NTD's David Lamb has more.
Authorities announced on Monday that they foiled an alleged terrorist bombing plot targeting the Los Angeles area.
The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force intercepted a scheme by members of a violent extremist group we believed determined to detonate explosives at multiple businesses on New Year's Eve.
Attorney General Pam Bondi said the FBI and DOJ prevented what would have been a massive and horrific terror plot. Officials say these 4 individuals, ranging from ages 24 to 41, were plotting to use backpacks with improvised explosive devices that would detonate in Orange and Los Angeles counties.
The plan stated that the IEDs would be complex pipe bombs. It included instructions on how to manufacture the bombs and contained guidance on how to avoid leaving evidence behind that could be traced back to them.
They are members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which Bondi describes as a pro-Palestine, anti-government, and anti-capitalist group. They're accused of planning to target companies at least 5 different sites, along with ICE agents and vehicles. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Asaley, did not disclose the targeted businesses, but said they were logistics companies similar to Amazon.
Our investigation uncovered evidence in that the group would test the explosives in the desert.
The suspects were arrested on Friday in the Mojave Desert, where officials say they were unloading bomb-making materials. They have been charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device. The arrests come as officials in New York, LA, Miami, and other cities say they are on alert after a terror attack in Australia that targeted a Hanukkah event on Sunday. David Lamb, NTD News, California.
Legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were tragically found dead at their Brentwood home over the weekend. Their son Nick Reiner has been arrested in connection with their deaths as authorities continue their investigation. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more from Los Angeles.
That's right. This is some devastating news. We're here in Brentwood, outside the home of Rob Reiner, where a tragic double-death investigation continues to unfold. Legendary filmmaker and actor Rob Reiner, 78, and his wife Michelle Reiner, 68, were found dead inside their home on Sunday afternoon after first responders were called here around 3:30 p.m. on Sunday. Officials pronounced both Reiner and his wife dead at the scene. Authorities believe both suffered fatal wounds consistent with stabbing. Data released on Monday morning shows the couple's son, Nick Reiner, 32, was arrested and booked in connection to their killings. According to jail records, Nick Reiner has been taken into custody and is being held without bail, despite earlier reports indicating he was held on a $4 million bail in connection with the deaths. Rob Reiner had a long career in Hollywood, first with his breakout role as Meathead in All in the Family, then going on to direct well-known movies like When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men. His death, along with his wife Michelle's, has sent shockwaves throughout Hollywood. Many celebrities took to social media to pay tribute to Rob Reiner, including actor Kevin Bacon.
Rob Reiner gave me a job in A Few Good Men sometime in the 90s, I guess it was. And I was over the moon to get that job because people may or not know, but this is Spinal Tap is my all-time favorite movie. And when he called me, I was just so thrilled. So I'm just sending love to everybody that knew him, because I know that everyone's hurting today.
Actor Ben Stiller wrote, "What a huge loss. Rob Reiner was one of my favorite directors. He made some of the most formative movies for my generation." Actor Elijah Wood wrote, "Horrified to hear of the passing of Rob Reiner and his wonderful wife, Michelle. So much love to their kids and family." Actor John Cusack said, "At a loss for any words that make sense. R.I.P. Rob and Michelle." Actress Mira Sorvino said, "I am in absolute shock. Rob Reiner was a legend and a kind, brilliant man, a wonderful actor to work opposite on Hollywood, an iconic director. His wife Michelle was a lovely, generous person. I wish I had been able to get to know her better. The world has lost two tremendous humans." Actor Paul Walter Hauser said, "Grieving the loss of my favorite director of all time. A Few Good Men is the reason I became an actor, and Rob's filmography behind the camera is the reason I wanted to direct and still do." Authorities say this is an active investigation and will be sure to keep you updated as the details unfold. Reporting from the city of Brentwood, Christina Corona, NTD News.
A Massachusetts jury today found Brian Wlashe guilty of first-degree murder in the death of his wife, Anna Wlashe. They deliberated about 6 hours before reaching their verdict. Wlashe is expected to be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. That's the mandatory punishment for first-degree murder in Massachusetts. Wlashe killed his wife on January 1st, 2023. It happened hours after the couple rang in the new year with their 3 young kids still in the house. Prosecutors say Wlashe dismembered her body and disposed of her remains in dumpsters near their home. Wlashe denied killing his wife, and his attorneys have said he found her dead in their bed that morning. Wlashe had pleaded guilty to misleading police and illegally disposing of his wife's body. He's expected to face additional prison time for those convictions. President Trump hailing his administration's success in securing the border and signing an order classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. This as the president doubles down on the BBC, saying his lawsuit against them is likely to be filed soon. NTD's Mario Otsu has more from the White House.
President Trump signing an executive order aimed at protecting Americans from fentanyl while touting his administration's successes in securing the border.
But these are a direct military threat to the United States of America. They're trying to drug out our country. And in May, we executed the largest fentanyl bust in the history of the U.S., seizing 3 million fentanyl pills all at one time. Think of that, 3 million pills. It's amounted to billions of dollars worth of drugs.
This as the president awards the newly established Mexican Border Defense Medal to U.S. service members.
So we took the worst border in the history of our country, and in a period of 2 months, we turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country.
And according to the White House, since the beginning of President Trump's second term, more than 2.5 million illegal immigrants have been removed from the U.S., and illegal border crossings have fallen to the lowest level since 1970. Meanwhile, President Trump announces he's suing the BBC within the next 24 hours.
They actually put terrible words in my mouth having to do with January 6th that I didn't say. And the beautiful words that I said, right? The beautiful words, talking about patriotism and all of the good things that I said, they didn't say that, but they put terrible words. They actually have me speaking with words that I never said.
This coming just a month after the president first threatened a $1 billion defamation lawsuit against the BBC for editing his January 6th speech in a documentary aired just before the 2024 election. The BBC documentary spliced together parts of President Trump's speech taken from 54 minutes apart, suggesting he incited violence. The original.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
And the edit.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
BBC's CEO and director resigned after President Trump first vowed to sue back in November, while the chair apologized for editing the footage but denied any claims of bias in the BBC's reporting. Reporting by Mariotsu, NTD News.
Law enforcement in Rhode Island have resumed their search for the Brown University shooter after releasing a person of interest on Sunday. Meanwhile, police have published a second video of the suspect, and the FBI is offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information about the individual. NTD's Arlene Richards has more.
A person of interest is released, a second video of the Brown University shooter is posted by police, and a search continues for clues and tips that will lead to an arrest. These are the latest updates in the deadly shooting at Brown University that has rocked a quiet community in Providence, Rhode Island. Meanwhile, the shaken community came together to honor two students who lost their lives on Saturday. On Monday, law enforcement continued their search after a person of interest was detained, questioned, and then released. Officials said late Saturday night that the individual would be released from custody, but no new security alert or lockdown was reinstated. Mayor Brett Smiley of Providence, Rhode Island, said Sunday night that officials had no way of knowing whether the attacker was still in the city. "We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community," Smiley said, but he said he believed the community remained safe. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona said the killer was still out there. "We have not yet solved this case, but I'm confident we're going to do that, and I am confident we're going to do that in the very near future," he said. Officials have asked that anyone with information about the shooting come forward. Meanwhile, additional evidence was released on Monday. Video footage so far has not shown a close-up of the individual's face. Officials said there was limited surveillance footage because the building where students were shot is an old building attached to a new one and doesn't have many cameras. Mayor Smiley alerted the community that officers may knock on their doors looking for more video evidence. Through reports, the two students who were killed have been identified. The first victim, Ella Cook, was a sophomore and vice president of the Republican Club. She was shot in a classroom during a finals review session. College Republicans of America said in a social media post, Ella was known for her bold, brave, and kind heart as she served her chapter. The second victim was identified as Mohammad Aziz Umarzakov by the Uzbekistan Foreign Ministry. In a statement posted on the ministry's Telegram channel, a spokesperson for the ministry said it expresses its deepest condolences to Umarzakov's family. Umarzakov's aunt told NBC News he was very kind, smart, attended talented and gifted schools. She said he wanted to be a neurosurgeon. Local residents gathered in the cold and snow holding candles on Sunday to honor the two students and 9 others injured. Participants held a day of mourning on campus and in the city. Brown officials canceled classes and exams for the remainder of the semester. Providence Public Schools still opened on Monday, but several private schools in the area remained closed. At least 2 students at Brown were survivors of previous school shootings. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Coming up, Republicans and Democrats are still at odds over how to tackle healthcare costs. Will Congress find a solution before the end of the year? Luis Martinez reports from Capitol Hill. Reactions are pouring in after the conviction of Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai. A former Apple Daily employee says hope must endure in the darkest times. Malcolm Hudson has that story when we come back. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The House of Representatives will address health care this week after a Democratic and Republican proposal failed in the Senate. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has the details.
House Democrats are pushing for a 3-year clean extension of the COVID-era Obamacare health subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year.
We need Republicans to join us in making sure that we can pass the bill. And actually, our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, has a discharge petition that every Democrat has signed. We only need a handful of Republicans to sign it, and it will force a vote so we can extend these tax subsidies.
The Democratic discharge petition has 214 signatures thus far and would need 4 Republicans to join in with Democrats in order to force a vote on the 3-year extension. Republicans in the House and the Senate have offered 2- and 1-year extensions with reforms to the subsidies, but Democrats insist on the 3-year clean extension.
Let's go ahead and not give the profit to the insurance company, but the protection to the patient by giving them access to an account, a wallet, a purse, a pocketbook, if you will, that would have up to, pick your family, $1,000 to $5,000 to pay those initial expenses. But also do something on the premiums.
An extension with abortion restrictions kills women. So no, I'm not going to allow this Republican majority to kill women in this country.
Some House Republicans have signaled that they're willing to address health care during the first quarter of 2026 through a reconciliation bill that will allow them to legislate without the need of Democratic support.
We have the tool in the toolbox to make another unilateral Republican run at reforms that we believe will bring the cost of care down.
Also, this week, lawmakers both in the House and the Senate will receive a closed-door briefing from Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on the ongoing tensions with Venezuela. The Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, is set to travel to Washington in the coming months.
I absolutely support President Trump's strategy, and we, the Venezuelan people, are very grateful to him and to his administration, because I believe he is a champion of freedom in this hemisphere.
The Senate is also expected to pick up the House-passed National Defense Authorization Act that passed last week through the lower chamber. The bill is expected to pass through the Senate as it has the past 64 years and be sent to the president's desk for signing before the end of the week. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Chile shifts to the right after a runoff election. Conservative candidate Jose Antonio Cast has been elected president following a resounding victory against a Communist Party candidate. Cast is a member of the Republican Party of Chile. He won more than 58% of the vote. Communist Jeanette Jara won 41%. It sets the stage for Chile's most conservative government in decades. Cast has promised to tackle crime and illegal immigration. Secretary of State Marco Rubio congratulated Cast on the victory. Rubio said he is confident Chile will advance shared priorities, including strengthening public security and ending illegal immigration. Cast's victory gives President Trump another conservative ally in Latin America, in addition to Argentine President Javier Milei. Hong Kong pro-democracy advocate Jimmy Lai was found guilty of undermining China's national security. The British government condemned the verdict as politically motivated and calls for his immediate release. Lai's family says the trial has caused the destruction of Hong Kong's legal system under CCP influence. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more.
Hong Kong's High Court found former publisher and pro-democracy advocate Jimmy Lai guilty on Monday of conspiring to collude with foreign forces. It's the city's highest-profile trial under a China-imposed national security law and comes amid years of government suppression of rights and freedoms following the 2019 pro-democracy demonstrations. Lai is a 78-year-old British, Chinese and Taiwanese national. He founded the now-closed Apple Daily newspaper and has been one of the most prominent critics of the Chinese Communist Party. British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says Lai was targeted for peacefully exercising his right to freedom of expression.
This was a politically motivated prosecution, which I strongly condemn.
She says the national security law was imposed to silence China's critics and undermine Hong Kong's autonomy, and called for Lai's immediate release. Lai was found guilty on 2 counts of conspiring to collude with foreign forces and 1 of conspiracy to publish seditious material. He has denied all charges. Lai's son, Sebastian Lai, says most people knew the verdict was coming.
As you know, the trial has been a destruction of the Hong Kong legal system. I mean, allegations of witnesses being tortured, no jury, 3 government-appointed judges, judges that, mind you, shout at my father on multiple occasions during the trial.
Jimmy Lai's family says his health has worsened after 5 years in solitary confinement. Sebastian Lai said his father has lost 22 pounds in the last year alone. The verdict closes a year that marked the essential disappearance of Hong Kong's democratic opposition under pressure from Beijing. The Hong Kong Democratic Party voted to disband on Sunday. Exiled Hong Kong activist Carmen Lau says Jimmy Lai's case is not just a tragedy of a single man.
It is a reflection of a, wider and, more brutal reality that, thousands of Hong Kongers are now under. We have almost 2,000 political prisoners in Hong Kong.
Lai now awaits his sentencing, which could range from 10 to 15 years, though some fear it will be more. Former chief of breaking news for Apple Daily, Edward Lee, says his heart is heavy, but hopes to continue Lai's spirits.
I believe the worse things get, the more good things we need to do. Otherwise, society will sink further. And as a Hong Konger, I don't feel that I can give up on Hong Kong, no matter where I am. So, in the worst times, we need to do the best things.
President Trump raised Lai's case with Chinese leader Xi Jinping during a meeting in October. Trump said he would do his utmost to save Lai. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, UK.
Coming up, President Trump warns of very serious retaliation after an ISIS terrorist attack killed 2 U.S. Army soldiers and an American interpreter in Syria. Melina Weiskup has the latest after the break. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Now to the ISIS attack over the weekend in Syria. U.S. military officials have now identified both American service members killed in the ambush. There's Sergeant Edward Brian Torres Tovar, 25, and Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, son of an Iowa police chief, 29, both with the Iowa Army National Guard. A civilian interpreter was also killed and 3 other guardsmen wounded. President Trump is warning of what he calls very serious retaliation. NTD's Melina Weiskup has the details.
A deadly ISIS ambush in Syria killed 2 troops from the Iowa National Guard. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds said she's spoken to the victims' families.
I ask that all Iowans stand united in supporting them and lifting them up in prayer during this incredibly difficult time.
During a Christmas reception on Sunday, President Trump mentioned the terrorist attack several times, paying respects to the families and vowing to have justice.
The families of those 2 that are no longer with us, I pay my deepest regards and respects from the United States of America. Thank you very much. It's a very important thing to say. And we mean it. I can tell you in Syria, there will be a lot of damage done to the people that did it. They got the individual person, but there'll be big damage done.
The retaliation is expected to be a broader target of ISIS. Partner forces killed the gunman, and 5 with suspected ties have since been arrested. Lawmakers are encouraging the continued cooperation to totally dismantle ISIS.
Trump rooted out and took out the ISIS caliphate in his first term without starting another forever war. He's going to do that again.
The ISIS is still the most capable and the most dangerous Islamic terrorist group who have already demonstrated that their intent is to strike even within the United States.
Congressman Mike Turner noted that around 2,000 American soldiers are still in the country. President Trump emphasizes that Syria's president was devastated by the news, and Syria will keep fighting alongside U.S. troops. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
Joining us now to react to the recent terrorist attacks and the global narco jihad is Anders Core, principal at Core Analytics and publisher of the Journal of Political Risk. Anders, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here. Now, with the recent spate of violence around the world, there's growing concern of ideologically motivated attacks, specifically terrorism-related ones. Now, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard issued a warning over the weekend about suspected terrorists inside the United States, saying 18,000 known or suspected terrorists were allowed into the country under the previous administration. First, how large of a threat is this in the homeland, and how has it evolved from the past?
Terrorism is, including with ISIS, is intimately linked to the global narcotics trade. They're taking drugs that they get from, cocaine. I mean, fentanyl is the biggest killer in the United States, with almost 80,000 a year U.S. deaths from overdose of fentanyl. But cocaine is a big one too. You've got like around 30,000 a year cocaine deaths. A lot of that is trafficked from Colombia through Venezuela to Africa and upwards into Europe, where there's another 8,000 deaths a year from cocaine. So this is how they finance their terrorism. They're selling cocaine, they're trafficking cocaine. They've got links to terrorists in Australia, Myanmar, China. I mean, they've got the link to China, they've got the link to Iran terrorists, Russian terrorists, and the Russian state. So you really have this global situation where a lot of the worst dictators in the world are linked up to the worst terrorists and cartels in the world, and they really don't care about human life. They're willing to kill Americans, anyone really, in their pursuit for power, territory. A lot of territory has been taken over in Africa, in the Sahel region of Africa, by the terrorists at this point, and that corridor in Africa is how they're transporting a lot of these drugs.
And Anders, you mentioned the link here with U.S. adversaries like China and Russia and Iran. How are they involved? How are they maybe helping this narco jihad globally?
Russia's been implicated in some of the narco trafficking into Europe, and China's been implicated in terms of meth production in Myanmar. And of course, ISIS is another drug that you don't hear about very much, but ISIS and the jihadists in general in Syria and that region are transporting and manufacturing a drug called Captagon, which is an amphetamine. So there's just plenty of this horrible stuff all over the world, and these networks that the U.S. government is going after, frankly, are very dangerous, and you can't really stop them with the traditional means that we've used in the past. It just hasn't worked. We've tried to be nice. We've tried to use the Coast Guard. We've tried to, use our partners in different nations. But a lot of times corruption in places like Mexico, Venezuela, throughout Africa, in Syria, everywhere around the world, Myanmar, causes the local government officials to look the other way when these terrorists are manufacturing drugs. And so, unfortunately, the U.S. has had to take stronger measures than in the past, and that's, of course, causing some concern in Congress. But that concern often happens when the rubber hits the road in these places. During the Obama administration, the U.S. used drones to hit terrorists in Pakistan, for example, and Republicans complained. On the other hand, now Trump is using drones to attack terrorists, and the Democrats complain. So, the reality is we need to use tough measures against these guys, and if we don't, the killing in the United States of 100,000 a year is going to continue.
Expanding on that, Anders, we've seen with this administration so far a focus on countering the drug crisis. At least that's Venezuela, China with fentanyl. Is there a direct response or counter to narco jihad? What would you like to see from the administration on this?
I think the administration is doing the right thing in terms of narcotics, in terms of the threat from jihad. One thing that I think that we could do that we didn't do in Afghanistan, I think we should have, is spray the fields. In Afghanistan, it was opium poppies. In Colombia, which is the biggest producer of illegal cocaine. There's a lot of fields there that could be sprayed with some form of herbicide. To kill those cocaine bushes. And, until we do that, they're going to keep producing, and there's still a demand in the United States and Europe for this stuff. And, the war on drugs in the 80s and 90s that was started by the Reagan administration, that only worked so far. So you can try to hit it from the demand side, which are the drug users here, and we are, but you can't necessarily stop that 100%. So you also have to go against the supply side. It's not an either or. You can do both.
Well, Andrew Score, as always, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up in the NFL, the Chiefs' loss yesterday is worsened by the devastating news about Patrick Mahomes. Dave Martin joins us to discuss. And 'tis the season of gratitude and reflection. Sam Wong takes a look at the Christmas tree that symbolizes goodwill between two nations located in the heart of Washington, D.C. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Now for your sports news, with my NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, we have baseball and college football news, but let's start in the NFL as the Kansas City Chiefs were eliminated from playoff contention yesterday and lost quarterback Patrick Mahomes in the process. What did you make of all of this?
Well, I wasn't happy, Tiff. Just to start with that, all right? I mean, it's pretty shocking. Last month, the Chiefs were the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl. Now this, I mean, they kept losing those close games. Now their best player is out for the season. Playoffs hopes are dashed. Now let's listen actually to what Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said last night before they knew the extent of Mahomes' knee injury.
I don't know, but I mean, it didn't look good. So, I mean, you guys saw it. So we'll just see where it goes. Yeah, sure. Listen, I mean, I can't tell you I'm happy, bye. So it's a tough deal there, when you deal with that. But at the same time, we've got a few more games here we got to take care of.
Meanwhile, Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, who's now 36 years old, he's in the final year of his contract. He's at retirement age. He said he plans to decide by March whether he returns or not. But either way, the Chiefs are definitely going to have to retool this team in the offseason if they want to return to being a Super Bowl contender. They're going to have to hope Mahomes has that knee healed in time. So a tough loss for all involved, including, those fantasy football owners. This is playoff time for them. So tough blow for everyone here.
Yeah, big blow for me. Well, Mahomes wasn't the only star to suffer a significant injury yesterday, though. Packers defensive end Micah Parsons left with a knee injury. Has the team announced the extent of his injury?
The team hasn't, but reportedly he's torn his ACL as well. This is according to multiple reports. Now, Parsons' injury was a non-contact play. His knee just kind of buckled while he was chasing Bo Nix there yesterday in the third quarter. Now, Parsons posted on social media today saying, quote, "I may be sidelined, but I'm not defeated." He didn't actually confirm the injury, though. Now, this is a big loss for Green Bay. The Packers traded 2 first-round picks to the Cowboys for Parsons earlier this season. One of the best pass rushers in the league. His 12.5 sacks were third most in the NFL. Now, elsewhere in the league, the Indianapolis Colts announced that 44-year-old quarterback Philip Rivers will start again on Sunday. Now, Rivers came back after that 5-year retirement, threw for 120 yards and a touchdown yesterday, almost leading the Colts to a victory. The Seahawks, though, hit that field goal with just 18 seconds left to beat them 18-16. But like I said, Rivers, though, will be starting again next Sunday.
All right, well, in some lighter news, shifting gears to college football, Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza became the first Hoosier to win the coveted Heisman Trophy Saturday.
Yeah, Mendoza was the favorite to win. Really, he led the NCAA in passing touchdowns, and he led the Hoosiers really to their greatest regular season ever. School record, 13 wins, their first ever #1 ranking. They beat Ohio State to win the Big Ten championship. So he definitely was not hard to favor him there. And now the team is going to sit around this week and watch the first round of the playoffs to see who their opponent will be. Now the playoffs start this Friday night. Alabama at Oklahoma. Then Saturday we got that triple header. Miami at Texas A&M, Tulane at Ole Miss, and James Madison at Oregon. So plenty to see this Saturday for us sports fans.
You'll be busy. Looking at baseball news, though, the AP is reporting that the Dodgers signing of free agent closer Edwin Diaz includes millions in deferred salary, which balloons their total deferred salary obligations to more than $1 billion.
Yeah, Diaz's 3-year, $69 million contract they just signed up from the Mets includes deferrals of $4.5 million annually. Now, the Dodgers don't actually start making payments on it until 2036, but he's one of 9 Dodgers players that has a contract with deferred money on it. Combined, it's more than $1 billion, like you said. The bulk of that money, of course, goes to Shohei Ohtani. Now, Ohtani deferred $680 million of that $700 million contract until 2034. And then the Dodgers owe him $68 million a year for the next 10 years, plus interest. But also they've got, all-star outfielder, infielder Mookie Betts deferred $120 million until 2033. Cy Young winner Blake Snell, they owe $66 million starting in 2035. Plus first baseman Freddie Freeman, catcher Will Smith, utility man Tommy Edman, reliever Tanner Scott, and finally outfielder Teoscar Hernandez. They owe him another $32 million. All those guys, they owe millions of dollars. In fact, they owe so much that in 2038 and in 2039, which is going to be really the high points of those deferral payments, they'll be paying more than $102 million each season to players that will likely not be on their roster at that time. But, they've got 3 World Series in the last 6 years, so in 10 years, they can just remind themselves what they had and why they're paying all this money.
All those zeros.
Yeah, all those zeros. I mean, for the Royals, I would be totally fine if they did this. Win now, pay later. That sounds like a great idea to me.
With interest.
With interest. Win now, pay a whole lot later. But it's worth it for right now, I think.
Well, I do think so. Dave, as always, though, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tiff.
And it's the season for gratitude and reflection. DC's Union Station is embodying these values with its annual tradition, a Christmas tree that symbolizes goodwill between the United States and Norway. NTD's Sam Wong has the story.
It's huge, like what?
It's awesome. It's awesome. I enjoy seeing the flags.
Ushering in a festive holiday season, DC tourists are greeted by a massive Christmas tree upon walking into the Hall of Union Station. Decorated with lights, snowflakes, ornaments, along with American and Norwegian flags, the tree has become a major attraction at the city's largest transportation hub.
Beautiful tree, very well decorated, and I think it brings joy to people, everybody that works in here.
Very festive, well lit. I like the star at the top.
I think it's really pretty. That was kind of my first reaction, was just that it was pretty, and then I noticed the flags on it. Yeah. And was kind of just trying to figure out what the mix of the 2 flags was for.
The answer to that question goes back to 1997. That was when Norway first gifted a Christmas tree to America as a token of gratitude for the help they received in World War II. It has since become an annual tradition that symbolizes friendship and goodwill between the 2 countries.
Yeah, Europe has been pretty thankful for over the years, especially Belgium and those places. I'm glad somebody's thanking us for something.
I think it's a good thing that they do that, and also keeping people in mind what happened in the past. That's a good thing also. We should never forget what people did for others.
And embracing the spirit of gratitude is at the heart of the Christmas season. Beyond the festivities, perhaps it's time to reflect on our blessings and extend our compassion to others. Sam Wong, NTD News, Washington, D.C.
And that's all for today's news. For round-the-clock coverage, visit us at ntd.com/live or download our NTD app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Good night.